This guy, an original correspondent and producer on The Daily Show, and I didn't know this till I was kind of just looking, at certain stuff I could throw into his introduction. I really like this guy, as I mentioned to you before, for being one of those people who can give you a serious take on something that's happened politically. He can give you an absurdist take. He can give you a satirical take. He's just such a versatile mind and talent. And he was named, this is the item that I'll throw in. He was named one of Entertainment Weekly's 100 most creative people in entertainment. Wow. You've seen him also in series television. You may have seen him in commercials. He's just got one of those looks. And I think he's really a jewel. And it's his first appearance on this show. Put it together for Brian Unger, everybody. Come on. Look at you, Brian Unger.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay? Am I coming through? All right.
Yeah, you sound good. You sound good.
I'm a fan of yours, by the way. Let me say that. And I love your show. And I laugh every day that I see your myriad postings across all the platforms. And you guys just give me a lift every day. So thank you.
Oh, that's so sweet. Why didn't we come to Brian earlier is my question. I didn't realize you were going to start with that. That's terrific. I do want to ask you, I don't know exactly where you are, but I feel like you might be close to the path of totality on this eclipse thing. Am I right-ish?
Which, by the way, is the word for the day. I mean, if totality? I hear the word totality one more time, it's insane. Like my neighbor, I just passed her here in Georgia, and she said, "Look at almost totality," and I'm like, "You're a grunter. I've never heard you speak." We're at dusk here. We're in a weird dusky state. Just odd enough to give Marjorie Taylor Greene the fuel she needs to whip up a new conspiracy theory.
It is a natural event that is ripe with these insane, impossible theories. But by the way, I didn't realize, this is great that you're there for this question, really, and probably because there's a lot of great about these states that are red states that we sort of, throw into the rubbish. But the reality is there are people who are of all political persuasions, and there's a whole, vibrant intellectual community there around colleges and universities, et cetera. But with that lengthy preamble, what is it like to live in a state where, politically anyway, it's dominated by the right?
Yeah, it's an interesting. I'm still educating myself. I don't want to go down too far down the rabbit hole and bore your audience, but like, after about 2 years of being here, Georgia is basically predominantly Republican, but Republican in a very sort of Ronald Reagan. Kemp is kind of like a hero here. He very pro-business, certainly not socially liberal in any way or progressive, but most of those issues he kind of pays lip service to. There's a Trump faction here. It's small. It's smaller than I thought. I'm in Red Cherokee County, which is above Fulton. And there's literally as soon as you cross this border, you're into dense blue territory in the Atlanta region. But once you're up here, it leans, I'd say it's about 70% red. And folks are, they seem liberal to me now because I remember Reagan. I remember what an asshole, what I thought he was at the time living in New York City. I was like, this guy is like an arch conservative who's going to ruin the world. But I have this romantic sort of feeling toward him now because those are the moderates today. Those are the centrists.
It's so crazy how that's changed.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane how it's changed. Yeah, there was some saying what do you get when you drive outside of Atlanta, Mississippi? I mean, it's something like that, where there's, you really do get what you're talking about, which is this watershed political area, which is outside of the big city.
Yeah, these counties, it is a county. It's identified by counties, Fulton and Cherokee and Cobb and DeKalb. And, each one has a certain kind of, and I don't mean this in any racial way, but complexion, a political complexion, a kind of These counties can have their own identities. And I have found here in Cherokee, which, when we lined up to vote for the first year last year in the Senate race here, and was the big thing, when it was Herschel Walker was running on the Republican ticket.
Yeah.
And I thought, these people are so nice. And I was in a line outside a church, which is another distinguishing characteristic of voting here. It's like, you vote in a church. Okay, cool. I'm just going to go with the flow. But I thought everyone in the line was just lovely. And I was chatting everybody up. And I'm with my partner, Nick, who's Black. And we're feeling already just kind of like outsiders. But everyone was so lovely, and we voted and we left. And then that night I saw that my county went 75% to Herschel Walker. And I'm like, you can't judge these books by their covers.
Yeah.
A werewolf can kill a vampire. Did you know that?
Yeah, that's right. That's Herschel. He made a show of it. I will say this, and I've often noted that one-on-one, and even in a small group around a dinner or whatever it may be, these people are all lovely. I mean, they're not. I mean, I shouldn't say all to the person, but in general,
I'll tell you what. We've had a more challenging time, kind of insinuating ourselves in the Atlanta city life social circles than I have out here in the hinterlands. Our neighbors are all Republican. We have 11 farms in our community. They could not be more hospitable and nice. Now, they may be talking, crap behind our backs, but then they're faking it so well by inviting us to like a barn party last weekend. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's very folksy. It's lovely. It's a love thy neighbor kind of approach to things. There's no discussion of politics. There's no discussion of religion, any kind of faith whatsoever. It's all just, how's your cow doing? How's your horse doing? Can you help me find a farrier? Where's the best priced bale of hay? Do you know? I'm going to Tractor Supply. Can I get you some chicken feed? I mean, it's pretty much that.
All politics are local. There it is. I mean, how is your cow doing, Brian?
My cows, we don't have cows. We're the only cows we don't have. We embrace my neighbor's adjacent farm that abuts my fence line, and they have so many cows. I've just said, screw it. We'll just like pretend they're mine. We have enough horses and other animals in this place. I don't need any more cows. No.
I've seen you on a horseback. I mean, you're totally convincing on a horseback. So have you always had that?
Nationally, I was a reiner for a while and competed. When I lived in Los Angeles, I took a year off and just competed in reining, which is quarter horses and doing all kinds of weird stuff on quarter horses. But then my accountant said, "What the hell are you doing?" And I said, "I don't know." And he said, "You're either going to go broke or get audited. So why don't you just stop this horse stuff?"
Horses are expensive, aren't they, Brian Unger?
Mark, they are expensive. They're often compared to yachts. They don't really. It's difficult to monetize them unless you are selling horses to Taylor Sheridan on Yellowstone. Which some friends of mine do.
Were you on an episode of Yellowstone? I feel like you've been in a Western or some kind of Western.
I have been in 3 episodes of Yellowstone, but I was only a doctor, a surgeon. I was operating on Kevin Costner and then his niece.
Wow, that's very strong, though. That's a strong brag.
Yeah, no, I have had to. It's a career highlight was telling Costner to drop his laundry and sit down on the bed while I had my way with
again. Very strong.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Wow. So it's interesting because now you can get those acting roles from wherever you are, right? You put yourself on tape to a casting director, or is it whatever? Is that how it comes, or?
Yeah, I mean, if anyone else is going into acting, like active casting sessions, please let me know. I have not, none of my friends is doing that. We're all at home in our 3rd bedroom with a psych, and we're like, executing these humiliating style, audition tapes. And, so, I mean, even my agent moved to Boise, and I'm like, how How far out of the game am I? If I'm in Atlanta and you're in Boise, basically I have about 0.0 chance of getting a job.
Wow.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't sweat it. I mean, roles come through. You just, bang it out on your iPhone and send it off, and that's it.
I mean, the thing about casting and going in personally, and I know this from voiceover, really, which is the only kind of castings I've attended. Uh, you, I'm grateful for direction in the moment. So I think when you have to just put yourself on tape, you have to be good at that. I mean, knowing, and when you look back at the performance, going, I'll do it more a little bit this way. But when you're really, unclear on what exactly they want, it can be so much harder, don't you think?
There are these like two schools of auditioning, and one is total bullshit as far as I'm concerned. And that is the going into an audition, come in as the character and be an embodiment of the person. And it's the person that you created in your head, and you deliver that person to the producers, and you walk out and you let it go. And I find that to be incredibly unproductive. Because frequently, if not most of the time, you come in with the wrong character, and they go, no. He's not that at all. You're playing him way too mean. Which I just did a Christmas, I just did a Christmas movie, a Lindsay Lohan Christmas movie, which is going to be on Netflix, and I didn't have to audition for it, and this happened. I just reported to set. I was with Tim Meadows, and we're doing scenes, and I came in and. From the very first frame that rolled, I opened my mouth and delivered the first line, and the director, I heard cut, and he comes in and he goes, he's not that at all. He's much nicer. He's much more this. He's much more that. But I didn't have any kind of creative work with the guy before I had come in to do it. But in auditioning, you get that feedback, and that's so essential to like giving yourself a fair shot at it. So then you go, oh, I'm going to adjust, right? So you make these adjustments, just like in voiceover, and so that is gone. And we're sort of now just sending these auditions out into the ether, and most of the time they're missing the mark.
Yet, well, in this case, there was no audition for you, but oftentimes you'll get the part based on an audition, and
yeah.
Then you're saying you show up to the set and it's like, that's not really the way we want you to play this, even though they cast you off the audition.
Yeah, when you get a part through an audition, the great thing about that is you're the guy. And no matter what you say on set, you're the guy. You can't screw it up. Once you show up, once they've like said, yeah, you're the guy. We want you. You're
so
it.
You don't need to sweat being recast.
And so if you don't audition and you show up, and this was like the moment I said something and the guy yelled cut, I was like, oh my God, I got to like take 5 minutes and like rethink this character completely.
Wow.
Luckily he was generous enough to do that. And I suppose that is one skill actors have, which is they can adjust in the moment, and they
right. I'm sure that's a real premium on that. Also just because you guys who are good work off the other people. You listen to what you're not just waiting for your line or lines. You're working off of the moment.
To the other actor at all, and just basically focus on myself.
Right.
Quality of my appearance and voice.
Going through the script. Yeah, me, not me, not me, right. not me. Right. Did you ever think that The Daily Show, when you were doing The Daily Show, I mean, it's a good thing that you may be tired by now of the reference because it was so long ago, but I think it's a great thing to have in your history, and I hope you're not tired about it.
I never get tired of it. It's hard. It's just like unfathomable to believe that it happened that long ago, because it just seems like yesterday. But I think that the architecture of the show is the same. The overall production design of the show is the same. The correspondent role hadn't even been invented. I had come out of CBS News and was filled with piss and vinegar and ready to get revenge on the journalism world. And so I leaned into that. All the folks I'd worked with at CBS News, and so I'm sort of flattered as hell that it continues to sort of chug along. I'm not really psyched with how it's been handled over the past year or two with Trevor leaving, and then this just sort of like leadership vacuum where they just can't kind of get it together to figure out what it's supposed to be. And
There is a weird thing, though, Brian, wouldn't you say? Like, just to the extent that they've had this rotating coterie of people through who are all correspondents. Every time I see one, I go, "Oh, that's totally the person you want." Then the next person comes, and I go, "Oh, that's totally the person you want." Oh, that's. I mean, literally, I've seen nothing but people, all of whom are capable of hosting that show and giving it a great, whimsical, serious, an energy that the Daily Show has always had.
Yeah, I mean, I do believe in, that show's the thing, and I do believe the show will, obviously will outlive any one talent, and that's obvious, and you're right. But I think it's really unfair to these guest hosts who they keep sort of like, sort of dangling the carrot in front of them, and then they shift strategies. I'm sure the job is John's if he wants it 4 days a week. He probably doesn't. And doesn't need it. But, there are so many good, capable people who worked there for years who could do the job. You're right.
It's also, you're right, one of those things that I've experienced in different ways, and I'm sure these people are really experiencing it. They want that. Because that's who they are. They're performers and they're gifted, and they bring so much to that role of hosting the show. And when you fill in, you're going, how did it go? I really want this to work out. They work really hard. They're all, as I say, very talented. And the other thing is, and this is kind of what I thought you were going to say, the writers write differently for each person. So for just the ripple effect of kind of substituting different people in there, there's a real effect on the staff because they try to write with a different voice for a Brian Unger or for whomever, Desi or whoever is in there.
It's true. It does. It fluctuates. I think there are some people who haven't been great fits that I've seen. There are others who seem very naturally inclined to fill the chair. I do know this. It's like, it's such a one of a kind job. It's such a great job in television. There's not really one like it where that nightly you can sit there and wear the arrogance of the journalist and present satire and spin on news and media too, which I loved doing, was just kicking media in the balls whenever I could, and shredding their alleged ethics and having a lot of fun with that. But I think the only thing I regret is just not sticking around. I think I was like one of these journeymen in TV, and I was always of the mind of like next. And I always say this to any young person who's willing to listen to me at Home Depot or wherever they are, in the aisle or wherever I'm walking. I stay in the job you have, stick it out, just stay there.
Your stuff was just so good, but I mean, I could also see, wanting to get to whatever the next level is, the next thing is. And you seem to be one of those guys who is looking for an additional challenge, an additional situation that could enrich your life in one way or another. So I understand it, but I think you're right. I mean, who knew, though, to be fair to you, that the show would evolve the way it did?
No, for anyone on any hit show, and I mean like long-lasting hit show, if anyone is being truly honest, they will tell you they have no idea that it was going to be a success. We had no idea that The Daily Show would be on 30 years. In year 3, when I took off, I was exhausted and ready to just do anything else. I had no idea it would run forever. And so I am, of course it ran forever.
Right. Right. So let me ask you about the media, because you mentioned it. The challenges that the media, the news media I'm really talking about, the challenges they're faced with, I think very difficult in some ways. Obviously, the media has let us down, the siloing of information. We are all in our own cocooned world and echo chambers, et cetera. But the media is dealing with a guy who, cranks out these lies, just fire hose of lies all the time, and he's the leader of the GOP, and Donald Trump. And then you have a party in the GOP that has really pledged a kind of unprecedented in the modern age fealty to this guy. They really are ready to do whatever. They literally just scuttled that border package because he told them to. Mm-hmm. And on the Democratic side, you have also sort of a fractured coalition, but compared to the GOP, it used to be the complete opposite. You remember, Brian? It was the old adage, Democrats fall in love, GOP falls in line. You don't have that anymore. You have this balkanized world of the GOP, yet they've now fallen in line behind this guy. Anyway, again, just to knock around a bit with that question, I guess what I'm saying is the media is challenged in ways to cover all of this, it seems, that they weren't challenged in these ways prior.
Yeah, and it's complicated, and it's easy to critique, and it's easy to sit on the sidelines and make fun of or just dismember any writer or talent. I think when we say media now, we have to kind of break it down. I think cable news is suffering from its own issues in dealing with Trump. I think they're an ad-driven media, media enterprises. So they are dependent on developing faithful, loyal audiences that come there for the message. There are sometimes when MSNBC becomes sort of like, I become intoxicated on a constant left-leaning liberal agenda where it just feels like, is there any other perspective out there that might be somewhat argumentative or valuable, worth listening to? I have to turn it off sometimes. And then when I listen to CNN, I can see all you're probably this way too, but I watch it like with X-ray vision. I see all the producing. I see all the effort. I see the like work that goes into being quote unquote balanced or not. I don't know. I see when I read the front page of the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal, or you can see the stitching. You can see you can hear the debate in the editorial rooms on what their point of view should be and what we're going to go with, and their work to be fair or not. I think the thing that just bothers me more than anything in the media, and I think this was true when we started the Daily Show years and years ago, is that the media tends to just glob onto a kind of phrase or a story or a moment and then parrot it, even though now they say it's false or it's incorrect, or people don't fly that close to the ground in real life. They're at 30,000 feet, and all they hear is the phrase. So when they hear Trump's now Trump supports abortion rights now, for the states. Like if you boil it down to just kind of like a banner, but yet the story is more complicated. He basically is now shifting but sure. I always feel like nuance, complexity, details, context gets lost. I think they have a horrible job. I think media has a horrible job covering this guy, for sure.
Well, he's serving up such BS consistently, and it's tough to, and I often, you hear this all the time. How come the media doesn't call him out? Call him out. I always hear that. I'm like, how should that? Now, I see also the both sidesism that you're talking about, that, you describe them trying to get to. And I also see the one sidesism that you're talking about, which is on MS or whatever. I think the both sidesism exists. Like if you're looking at cable offerings, I would say the both sidesism exists in a way on CNN. The one sidism exists on MS, And after that, there's a ripple effect, and you get into sort of these huge networks that exist on this platform, YouTube, where we are right now, TYT, et cetera, where there are, there's a progressive movement, and you kind of know what you're getting.
I think
Go
that
ahead.
Mark, there's one strategy that I don't think I've seen anyone employ, and that is just full on ridicule. I believe that if a man is operating outside the ethical guidelines and the news standards that are so, so cemented in these news organizations, he knows he's got them in a box. He can say anything they want. He's smart. He knows how to play the media, and he knows how to play news reporters but I do believe that one shift I've liked about Biden is that he's ridiculing him. He's ridiculing him on social media, and it really pisses Trump off because, as we know, narcissists, sociopaths, the vanity issue is a real problem for them when it starts to get chipped away at or it starts to undo them. They get very irritated and they start behaving erratically and they make themselves look even worse. I say just ridicule the guy all the time. Call him orange, call him fat, call him whatever you want to do. I'd like to see more ridicule because, you're never the one failure of the Daily Show is that the more you attack the issue, the more you never change the hearts and minds of anybody who believes the other way. If the Daily Show had been successful as a satirical tool to really, really improve the world, if it had been successful, then we would be in a different place. I think it just, I'm not sure. I think we're in personalities here, and we've got Donald Trump is I don't know. I just say let's just ridicule the guy every day. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly enough to ridicule. I mean, the imago that is Donald Trump with the billionaire thing, the slow mo walk to the helicopter that was supported by what's his name, Mark Burnett. I mean, he created really the image of Donald Trump as a successful billionaire when we all know that he's anything but. He was a long way from that. But so there's no shortage of things to criticize, and you're right to mention, I think, and it's interesting. I'd forgotten Biden has gotten a couple of clean shots in along the way. I don't know that a Biden-Trump debate, which is kind of the thing that everybody envisions, this sort of cage match thing that we do. I don't know that it wouldn't be a debate won by Joe Biden. I mean, Trump basically is vacuous. He'll say a lot of stuff, and he is charismatic, Brian. I will give him that.
Yeah, I mean, he has the ability to. I mean, he's a carnival barker. I mean, he's really good at getting people into the tent, and he can shift his message on a dime. Joe Biden doesn't necessarily do anything on a dime. I mean, he kind of doesn't. He's more like an aircraft carrier, and Trump's more like an Apache helicopter. But I don't know if anyone is going to be helped by a debate either with these two guys.
Right.
I hope that we don't even do them. I think it would be nice to just skip them.
Well, they're not really debates. I mean, the point, it's a TV show. I mean, that's what they do. And you're right. They don't benefit anything, yet they're really, again, a part of the American political landscape now, to the point that, I don't think you can ever flush them. I mean, they're just going to be. And when you don't debate, it's, oh my God, he won't debate. I mean, and they still use the term debate, even though, as I say, it's a TV show.
Trump reminds me now of some of the prime ministers who led Italy. At this point, they've been brought up on so many different criminal charges and absent of any real sort of like conviction. But he Trump's like notorious now.
Yes, that's a great word. Yeah.
He just is notorious. He just has he's just a snake oil salesman who happens to be running for president against a statesman who spent his whole life, trying to do something for the state of Delaware and the rest of the country. And then so the whole thing on its face is so absurd that we find ourselves with this sociopath who is and and got followers. Apparently,
A
people.
lot, a lot. And, I love the parallel to a Berlusconi or one of those type guys because
Yeah.
of the one thing that Berlusconi had is he had media. He owned a bunch of media. He was a media mogul. So he could control the narrative. Here, Trump doesn't need to own the media. He's got Fox, which is, it seems insanely committed to his reelection alongside some other lesser watched offerings. But, he's got media behind him. So they're ready to spin and justify whatever he says and does. When you stack these charges of what this guy is, what we know he was all about, seems disqualifying on its face, and yet here we are.
Yeah. That leads me to be dubious. I'm dubious of all the polling data. I don't believe the polling data is even like remotely close to what the real sentiment is out there. Because you can't define this Republican Party. You can't define them, as you said, as you alluded to, like they're all balkanized, and within the party, there are so many different factions. My neighbors don't like Trump. And I thought, well, you're Republicans, so who are you going to vote for? So I don't know. Do they go in and hold their nose and like pull the, touch the touch screen and do it? I don't know. I'm not sure. But
Well, you
yeah.
got, this is a great thing because your little world there is kind of a bellwether of something. I wonder. It might be interesting to kind of watch to see if they,
It is a really strange place. It's less politically developed than what most of the country and what media think it is. I think one thing I say about Georgia and Atlanta is that they have really good like press relations. Like it's a very Atlanta's kind of like this giant small town, and it's the capital of the South. It's the largest Black population in the South. It's a thriving business community with so many companies based here, but yet there's something about it that feels very small and very and not like not like we talk about DC being provincial or some other place. It just feels like a small town, and it's more, I moved to this state because I was like, I want 2 Democratic senators. That was my only criteria to move out of California. And I got it in Georgia, but because there is a strong centrist vibe here. And I don't agree with everyone who lives here, but like, I think when I look at Brian Kemp and I look at the Republicans in the House, there's the Assembly here in Georgia, most of them just want to make money. I mean, they're just all about making money. Like they don't really want to get caught up in like the messy stuff. Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's in the district that is next to mine, she's the messy one. She's the one who keeps all of this crap going, and you can just feel that people here aren't comfortable with that either. So I don't know. It's a bizarre state. In that,
I love hearing that the people there are not necessarily on board with Marjorie Taylor Greene because it seems as though she becomes more outrageous so to serve some electorate in her district or whatever. And obviously also her personal brand. There's so much about politics now is about personal branding. But I am glad to hear that at least in your area, I know it's not her district, but it's adjacent, it's not landing.
No, and like she's in her district is like the city of Alpharetta is like it's like going to Glendale where the Americana Mall is. You know what I mean? And it doesn't play to a lot of very successful young tech workers who are making great livings. It's really diverse. There's a huge Indian population in Georgia and in some of these really affluent suburbs outside of Atlanta. They lean Republican. They favor low taxes. They send their kids to, not all of them go to private schools. They have great public schools here too, but they lean Republican and they're not into this kooky sort of Trumpist, burn down the house kind of like Republicanism. That's not their thing. I had never seen this before until I moved here, Mark. There are stores like golf shops around Alpharetta, and they sell Bush Reagan baseball hats as kind of like a fun thing.
Wow. That's terrific. That
Do you know
really
what I
is
mean?
terrific.
it's like it's supposed to be ironic, but it's like I just find it to be hilarious that's their brand.
Right.
And that the brand here mostly.
Yeah, their party has drifted.
Yeah.
But it's so cool to visit with you. Let's try to do this more. I love
yeah, and like I said, I love your show, and I've always been a fan of yours, and you're so smart, funny, and I've enjoyed you over the years, and yeah.
That's so nice to hear, pal. Thank you. Coming from you, that means a lot. So give our best to all the Georgians. And
hi, it's Mark. And I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell. You'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped. And please subscribe to our
Brian
channel.
Unger, everybody. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, guys.